It seems to be a daily occurrence now in Moscow that there are drone attacks. And the latest drone attacks were in Krasnogorsk, which is a suburb of Moscow, just to the northwest. And those drone attacks have done a certain amount of damage, nothing very important, but nevertheless, they have a psychological effect. They close Moscow airports for a while, and it sets off car alarms. As you can see from these parked cars, it shows that the actual explosions are quite large, even though they're a fair old way away. Meanwhile, on the front lines, the Ukrainians are still pushing at Robotyne. They've taken Robotyne, which is good for them. It's on the high ground. They're pushing now towards Tokmak. That doesn't look very far away, but it's actually 15 miles away from Robotyne. And that 15 miles will be very tough for them. What the Ukrainians are hoping is that they have actually degraded Russian ammunition and artillery stocks and their reserves so that they will crack rather than just pull back ahead of them. 50 miles to the east, the same is true in Velika Novosilka. Again, the Ukrainians have done quite well, but they'll need to do better than they've done so far because they're hoping, again, that the Russians will actually crack, not just fall back. The Ukrainians would like to get to Mariupol, quite clearly. That's 100 miles away, so they'll have to go some quite soon in order to open up Russian lines sufficient to let them get there. Meanwhile, something else that's interesting today has happened, which is that these attacks on Russian air bases, this one was at Solsky, which is in Novgorod. These are quite a long way away from the Ukrainian border, about 350-odd miles away from the Ukrainian border. The Ukrainians appear to have admitted today, according to Ukrainian media, that actually these are sabotage squads. These are not drones being sent from Ukraine, and on Sky News we've been saying for weeks that they're unlikely to be flying all the way from Ukraine to these sites deep in Russia. These are sabotage squads working from inside Russia. I think it's fairly clear that the Ukrainians are trying to open up a new front in the war now that their offensive is in high gear. And that front is to create sabotage across the whole of Western Russia.